The Microsoft Surface Laptop 2 has been on the market now for a few weeks. I already did a full review that's on Windows Central, but today we're going to give you a video review and a follow-up to it. I'll tell you what I think, including that new pricing. Stay tuned. All right, before we get started, so the original Surface Laptop came out just over a year ago, so it's a little weird to see a refresh this soon. I'm not really complaining here, just it's hard to predict Surface devices and when they get refreshed. So the only thing that's really different this year is the processor. It's been upgraded to the 8th generation Intel series, so that is now quad-core. That's for Core i5 and Core i7. And of course, as you can see, the other big changes, and now comes in black, and they got rid of that weird champagne color, which probably just didn't sell well. And the black is super awesome looking. I was sort of skeptical of this color, as you heard me talk about before, but yeah, it looks really nice in black. But there are also a lot of subtle other changes that have come with this refresh, and overall it makes the package really enticing. Also, the pricing has come down a little bit, and they got rid of that Core M3 version, which always was a weird device. It was cheaper, but it also didn't have great performance. Looking at the top deck, you can see the matte black finish is super nice looking. Now, I should warn people, as always, the Surface Laptop, in my opinion, is one of the more scratchable devices. So if you were to do a light scratch on this, well, yeah, it would show silver below it. It's a pretty sturdy device, but I still consider it soft. I would baby the heck out of this if you buy one of them. You do not want to absolutely scratch this. Another good color, of course, is going to be the burgundy red. That's the other one I would recommend over this. Now turn to the left-hand side. Well, not a lot of ports, and we'll address this later too, but there's a USB Type A, so pretty standard. You also have a mini display port, which is getting kind of old in 2018. You also have a 3.5mm headset jack, and as you can see here, this is the antenna line, which is why that cutout exists. On the right-hand side, you don't have much either, just the Surface Connect port for charging. Taking a look at the bottom, you can see this continuation of this clean, minimalist look of the Surface Laptop. Just really, really nice. No stickers or anything, just a little bit of a Microsoft on there. And you do have the back grill, which works for the venting. So that's the intake, and then it blows out through another slit just above it. Overall, just a really nice, clean, symmetrical look. Taking a look at the 13.5-inch display, there's not a lot changed here either. It is a 3:2 aspect ratio, which we expect with all Surface devices. And it has the weird resolution of 2256 by 1504, gives you a 201 pixel per inch density. It's a really nice display, very color accurate. We got around 100% Adobe sRGB for it, so really nice. The display brightness is okay. It's around just over 300 nits, around 340 nits is what we got. That is below Surface Pro. In fact, everything about this display is sort of below what the Surface Pro is, which has a tighter and higher resolution, higher pixel density, as well as an enhanced mode for color reproduction. Now, I really like the way this display looks. It is touch, of course, and you can use pen with it, although it's not a really great experience since the display doesn't go back. But I do wish it was a little bit more punchy. On the Surface Pro, you do get an enhanced mode, which gives you a stronger color contrast. They don't do that on a Surface Laptop. That's partially because this display is so thin. It's one of the thinnest they've ever made on the market. And so I think there are some trade-offs in having to do that. Now, looking at the bezels here, I don't really have any complaints about these bezels. I think it's a really nice balance. You do get a Windows Hello camera on the top here, 5 megapixel. If you're into making Skype calls and using a webcam, this is still one of the best cameras you can get on the market. In fact, the whole Surface range is like that. So if you're really into color clarity and resolution, this is just a really, really nice experience. I should also mention, again, like the Surface Pro, they've improved the resume times here for using Windows Hello. So from the time you open the device till you're logged in is super, super fast. It's quicker than last year's model. It's a subtle change. It has to do with the architecture that they use on this device, but it's just a really nice experience. You're never waiting for it to turn on. All right, looking at the keyboard deck, again, nothing is different this year. 1.5mm travel on this keyboard, multi-stage backlighting, one of the best typing experiences you will get. They did actually make a subtle change here, which is the keyboard is quieter than last year's model. I have a little hesitation there in my voice because I never complained that the Surface Laptop's keyboard was loud. I guess it is subtly more quiet. I won't complain about it, but it's not something you're going to drastically notice. Looking at the trackpad, still really nice size here, no complaints, precision drivers, really nice feel to it. Again, one of the best trackpad experiences you'll get on any laptop PC. Not quite as good as a MacBook Air, not nearly as big as a MacBook Air's, but still pretty nice. You also get the new Alcantara deck here, so this is from last year's model, but now we get it in black, which matches really well. If you're really concerned about discoloration of this fabric over time, the black one is going to be your choice. It'll show less stains. The platinum version, however, is probably the one that has the most stainability, so I would stay clear of that if you're actually worried about it. Burgundy and cobalt are also nice as well. All right, let's talk about the processor. So you get a Core i5-8250U here, or you can get a Core i7-8650U. If I had to choose one, I would get the Core i5. I see little reason to get the Core i7 unless you really need to use it for all that processing power. I don't think most people do. The quad-core one here performs very well. To put into perspective here, we'll show you all the Geekbench results. So the Surface Laptop 2 Core i5 basically outperforms the Core i7 version from last year. So it's a little bit slower on single core. That's the Core i5 versus i7, so that's expected. But the quad core part really makes up on the multi-core score. We're going to see a huge improvement here on this device. And that results in all sorts of cool side effects. It's also better at battery. So I did a PC Mark battery rundown test, which is a little unrealistic. It's just blasting through a bunch of tasks endlessly until the battery dies. And so this pulled out about an hour and 20 minutes more battery than the same model from last year running the older 7th generation processor. So overall, it's a more efficient system. You're going to get more processing power. It's a really nice package, one that is hard to see on paper, but when you start using it, well, it feels just, I would say, ideal for most use cases. When it comes to RAM, not a whole lot of selection here. You get 8 or 16 gigs, which is pretty good. There's no 4 gig option, which of course we never like. It is DDR3. That's just a restriction that Intel has right now on some of these boards here, at least for the U series processors. We'll hopefully see DDR4 maybe next year. When it comes to the SSD and storage here, there's a lot of good news. So it starts at 128 gigs, but goes up to 1 terabyte. They are using a Toshiba drive this time, and I admit the performance is much better. So if you remember, the Surface Laptop has SSD storage built into the board itself. It's not a separate module, and that results in that faster login time that I mentioned earlier. Now, the side effect, though, was last year's model had pretty slow read and write speeds. It was around 500 megabytes per second, which I would say is below the class's device and the price point we expect. This year's model is 1500 megabytes per second. That's a huge improvement from last year's. It just feels much faster. Obviously, 1500 megabytes per second is still below the prime stuff around 2000 or even 3000, but I'll take it. It's just a much better experience. Now, when it comes to the write speeds, it's around 800 megabytes per second. Again, not super fast, but fast for most of you. That's also a huge improvement over last year's model, which was around 250 megabytes per second. So again, that was a pretty slow version. They did a lot of good here, though, with the new SSD, and it totally works. All right, let's bring it all in. So not a lot of changes to Surface Laptop 2, yet all these small changes add up to a really beautiful and solid experience. I'm really enjoying using this laptop, but there are some problems, as you know. For instance, there's just no Type-C port or Thunderbolt 3, and that's supremely disappointing. Now, I agree, keeping Surface Connect is awesome. I also love having USB Type-A, but that mini display port just has no role in my life anymore. They got rid of it on Surface Studio 2. I wish they got rid of it here. That would have involved a lot more of a redesign, though, between the chassis and the board itself, and it's clear that Microsoft wanted to make this a mild refresh, which they did. I think that we'll have to wait until next year's model, though, if we want Type-C, and that's really a big bummer, especially for the price point on this device, which is higher than average, but I'm actually happy to see that the price is pretty good on this. Now, the model we have here is a Core i5, 8 gigabytes and 256 gigs of storage. That's normally around $1,300. Microsoft is actually running it on sale for the holidays, though, for $1,000. That's a really solid price. If I had to recommend you buy the Surface Laptop 2, it would be this model. It's just really good. Now, obviously, if you need more storage, well, you can get the 512 or 1 terabyte options as well, but for most people, 256 should be good. Now, when you compare that to the brand new MacBook Air, which I'm using as well, that thing is $400 more expensive when you take that sale price into account here. For the exact same specifications, plus you're getting a Y series processor in that model versus a U series. This is just a really great performer. It's also going to get very good battery life. I already talked about the battery rundown test, but real world usage, yeah, I'm pushing 8 to 10 hours on this thing, and it's just really satisfying to use. I don't feel like I need to charge it all the time, which is really good. I do wish there was a model for LTE though. I'm huge on this always connect to PC thing. There's still no LTE option for this, which I think would make this a really exciting device to have. There's also no expandable storage, which for some people is going to be a bummer. It'd be nice to have a micro SD slot here somewhere, but it's clear that Microsoft is prioritizing battery here over just having a ton of ports, and they also want that really clean look. Other than that though, the Surface Laptop 2 is a surprising winner for me. Like the Surface Pro 6, all these small changes just make a really delightful experience, and that's why you buy the Surface Laptop. If you want the best of Windows and everything that just makes you happy when you turn it on, well, this is going to be your device. It's not the fastest on the market, it doesn't have the most ports on it, it's not the cheapest either. It's just the most fun and delightful to use, and well, that matters to some people. All right, so there's a quick look at the Surface Laptop 2. Now, if you want more information about this, you can also go to my full review at Windows Essential, where I have a lot more detail on this. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone.